Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 4. This is our Saturday morning early spoiler special. So I do have to warn everybody, we are going to be talking spoilers today. I've got about 11 pages worth of notes, not quite as many as last week. And it might have been just because when the action kicked in, I think I just took a little bit of shorthand. It was another great one though. I do want to give a special shout out. Thanks to you guys that were here last night for Freestyle Friday, involved in our Play Dead Live scenario, and are back here this morning after watching the show. I do have to tell you guys, we are going to do, we probably won't go line by line because we got the reaction tomorrow and then we got the recap coming on Monday night. But tonight we're also going to do another Play Dead Live scenario. One thing about that tonight is going to be a completely standalone edition. So at 7 o'clock tonight, no Freestyle Friday. It's just going to be, we're going to get in, we're going to do our group. So if you guys want to see a little bit of role playing, a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons, a little bit of The Walking Dead, a little bit of Sims, everything mixed together, hang out with us because we got a quest we're going on tonight. So you guys can see them up on the screen. That is my Patreon army. Thank you so much. Got a couple new faces on there. Catface Killer, Ben Stevenson, Ron Moore, Ricky Lutz. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. And 2 new PDL sponsors. Last night PDL was brought to you by that group up there. We're up to 12. Ron Moore and also Kimberly M. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. You guys ready to get into the spoilers and a little bit that's what it is. The spoilers is that we saw it, T-Love, because this is for people that watched it early and maybe people just want to talk about it that can't wait till the reaction tomorrow. So give me your scale. Everybody that's seen it, 1 to a 10 right now. Last week there were some super high scores. We got some, people couldn't even give a 10. It was like 11, 12. It was like a lot of different things out there. Give me your scale from 1 to a 10. And also heard this rumor that today might be Ocean Man's birthday. So, Ocean Man, Ray Beard, if it's your birthday, I thought I saw that a little bit earlier. Happy birthday to you, man. Hopefully you have a wonderful day today. We got 9.2, we got some 10s. Ramona Heath giving it a little bit of an 8. Michelle McCarty, 12. Geneva only giving us a 7.5. We'll talk. 8s, a couple people with some 10s. I loved, to kind of give you a summary or an overview, we've got a good story. We solved a couple of the riddles that were out there, developed a couple characters, and things got a little bit more complicated. So let's start out. And you guys saw this in the opening minutes. We got the Michonne and Daryl dinner. Siddiq sees Lydia, turns away. He's still struggling with some things. Magna and Yumi, have their hot, steamy scene. Zeke is alone. And the thing that's cool with that is Zeke is in that room. He can't communicate with anybody. He goes out there when there's all the commotion, the tree falling, the building. We don't know what it is, but then, we zoom in and there's some people injured. But I think the purpose of that scene, or one of the big points of that scene, is to show that Zeke is blank. He's completely blank. He can't speak. He can't give any leadership. It's like, don't worry about me. He's already thinking like, is this the end? And I do think that theme, that pressure, that paranoia, the guilt, all of those things are going to hit really, really hard. So we found out a little bit later on exactly why. So one of the epic lines here from the beginning is, they're talking about the whispers. It's almost like Hilltop's version of what happened in Alexandria when it was Carol and Michonne and Aaron up there. It's like, was it the skins? Was it them? Well, this was pretty much the same thing. It's like, is it them? And Earl says, we're already at war. We just don't know it yet. This is after Alden. Alden's basically like, hey, we crossed our border. But Earl, pretty strong statement there. We find out that this roof has collapsed and there's 9 injured, but half of the people are still inside. So, the mission is really to get those people out and to save them. And as I said, Zeke is basically, he's just like standing there frozen. Absolutely can't do anything. Then we go back to Alexandria. I thought it was kind of neat that, and I told you guys it's going to happen, and it did bother me a little bit. How many people did not like the fact that Aaron is not appreciative of what Negan did? That, we talked about this all week long, that nobody in Alexandria is going to see the true Negan. He went out on a limb, saved Aaron. And it's not like if Aaron would have went back and said something like, hey guys, I'm seeing a little bit of change in the group, but he didn't. He kept that, and I did not like that at all. I did not like, I get it, Aaron's trying to be tough, he's blocking off, but certainly did not like that he didn't even put in a good word for him. And that caused problems later on. And then, you know what, Aaron comes back. It's so funny because Aaron gets his ass kicked by like a couple walkers, and then he comes back and he's like military sergeant, training people. Head to hands, everybody, always, head to hands. You know, that's going to get you dead. It's going to get you dead. Well, yeah, I appreciate that now you come back and you want to get everybody ready, but you should have had yourself ready. He's playing tougher than he really is. Negan almost had him in tears. He was blind, calling out like a baby for Negan, and then comes back, and then he's one of the first people that's going to turn his back on Negan. Did not like that at all. Michonne and Judith. So we got a little bit more of the dialogue with Michonne and Judith. Did Judith absolutely blow it away again? Has there been a bad scene with Kaylee Fleming yet? I mean, I have not seen it. If there is, not even a slight little bit of hesitation. She is one of the best actors on the show, including everyone. She is absolutely amazing. Now, don't get me wrong. They give her some incredible lines too. And the writing is perfect for her character. And this just really, really floored me when I saw this. There were a couple things that were a little bit pulling on the heartstrings a little bit. Anyway, we see a little bit of that teaser that came into play. But then we also heard a little bit more dialogue where Judith's asking about the skins, and Michonne says, "Don't worry, it's my job." And Judith says, "If I can be a fresh set of eyes or a friendly set of ears." Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I was speechless when I heard that. Then she says, "Can we live with the skins?" And Michonne gives her, "Hey, maybe we can, maybe we can't, but, there's bullies." The bullying theme was a pretty big theme here. On the macro level, it was about Alpha and the bullying theme. From the micro level, it was about Lydia and Gage and that group. So I struggled with that as well. But Judith even cracks a little bit of a joke and says, you know how we run around and RJ gets tired? Maybe they're trying to do that with us. And then, Michonne's like, "That is really good idea. That's really bright." And she says, "I knew RJ would be good for something." Kind of a feel-good moment. Judith not only can be super serious for a kid, but she also has that sense of humor as well. Then we get the whoa, stop, and how many people saw this coming with Ezekiel? Be honest. Ezekiel's riding off by himself. Michonne just happened. This is Fear the Walking Dead coincidental. So I don't say it often on The Walking Dead, but lucky for Ezekiel, if Michonne would have been on that path 5 minutes later, I mean, when they were packing up the caravan from Alexandria going to Hilltop, if Michonne would have been like, "Hey, hold on, let's not leave yet. I got to go back in and get my katana." If she would have had to go back and get the katana, who knows if she ever would have run into Ezekiel. So we do finally get that moment, right? So I feel pretty comfortable in saying that the relationship has hit its peak. There is no relationship with Zeke and Michonne. It's a real kiss. It's a real moment. It served a purpose. Now, I'm not saying that I was right either. I did say early on, there's no way that Michonne would fall for Ezekiel, and it was a goodbye kiss. Now, I didn't think that it was going to be Ezekiel saying goodbye and jumping off a bridge, but I think the relationship took its toll. The kiss happened. So Ezekiel's in a real dark place. He's at the ledge. Michonne talks to him. He says, "Benjamin, Shiva, Henry, the kingdom, now Hilltop, and Carol." So they've had their kiss moment, and now Ezekiel's talking about all he lost, and Michonne comes back and says, I was there. Well, not there, but there. I wasn't going to jump off a bridge, but I'm exactly emotional where you were. Michonne said she was in a dark place. She told herself she was out fighting the walkers, and she said, I'm going to let one of them bite me. She was envious of the walkers, that they don't have all this stress and all this guilt and all this anxiety. She says that she put down her katana and started killing them with her hands. Now, she says it's harder the second time, used to someone around, and one of the most epic moments from Michonne ever, Michonne says, he was my partner in crime, my sounding board, and then that walk. Now, how many people here got a little smile on your face when, look, I know people. There's some Rick fans out there. The bow-legged walk, the jeans. Michonne just got this schoolgirl look on her face. Just like all the things that she appreciated and remembered. Her partner, always there for her. Sounding board, anything she wanted to say. And then that walk. And I'm going to venture a guess here and say, I think Michonne's words helped Ezekiel. But I think Ezekiel being there to listen to Michonne helped Ezekiel as much as her trying to save him. Would you agree with that? I know it's a little complicated assessment, but sometimes when you're down and out, you have to feel value, not pity. And it would have been very easy for Michonne just to give him pity and say, but if she gives him pity, he's going to kill himself again because the pity's only going to be temporary. But when she shows her vulnerability gives Ezekiel just a little bit of power to say, wait a minute, I am worth talking to. Not just I'm worth something, because when it's all about you, he could leave and think, well, nobody's going to miss me. But now that you know that you have some self-worth, Ezekiel starts to get his self-worth back in that moment. And you know how we know it? Is because as they're walking away, Michonne says, you know what? You're not a half-bad kisser. And then Ezekiel says, hey, that wasn't even my best. Now he's getting that, that fake arrogant Ezekiel, where Ezekiel holds a lot in, but he gives this false sense of confidence because it's funny and it's kind of like his mask protects him. I thought that was just a great exchange between the two of them. I am going to go on record and say there is no relationship that will happen between Zeke and Michonne. I'm going to say it more emphatically than I said it 6-7 months ago. They both have feelings for other people. Ezekiel loves Carol. Michonne is not going to steer away from Rick. But I will say this. Their friendship, their bond, hit an all-time level. They are somewhere between friends and soulmates. There's a different category between the two of them. They share a common bond, but it is a very, very strong friendship where I would say Ezekiel would give his life for Michonne. She's that good of a friend. Just keep that in mind as we go forward. Just something to think about. She does tell him, if you ever get in this dark place again, just do me a favor. Don't ride out here by yourself. That means talk to me. Let me know where you stand. All right. Back to the Battle of Hilltop. Walls are falling, man. Earl's talking about, you get that question. Now, that question did annoy me a little bit, where it's asked, like, how long before it falls? How long before it falls? And nobody knows the answer to that. They're not like architectural engineers. And he says, it's like, hopefully it'll hold. You can't give an answer like, another 90 seconds and it's going to go. But yeah, that's kind of the panic moment. But luckily they did have some boards up there to start to at least hold it up for a little bit of time. What did you guys think about Lydia? Lydia being bullied a little bit, but then Lydia going back up and sitting down at the table and carving up, was it a squirrel or a rabbit or whatever? Here, I'm just going to show you how much of a weirdo I am and how much of a predator. She saw the weakness in this group, that individually, they're nothing. And she just sat down, dipped her fingers in the blood. If they're going to write Silence the Whisperers, certainly. And you know what? I did skip over this, because if we're going to go over the spoiler, the Negan and Lydia scene prior to that, Negan did tell them, Gage put on the mask. Let me go back before the lunch. So leading up to the lunch was Gage putting on the burlap mask. And that was annoying. I told you guys, Gage is a little punk. He needed to die last season, if anybody needed to die. So, Gage basically teasing her, talking about her mom. Would your mom kind of accept me? Would your mom take me in? Oh, no, she kicked you out as well. So, I didn't like that scene, but you knew they were planting the seed for more bullying, and that was a central theme. Negan a couple times walked up and said, kill him with kindness. So Negan has saved Judith, saved Daryl's dog, saved Aaron, and now he's going to be the only person, even before he has to stand up and save Lydia, he emotionally goes up to her, and Daryl barges in, still unsure about it. Daryl comes in and says, hey, get away from him. Get away from him. He's not your friend. Negan, typical Negan fashion, just checking on the girl. Daryl says, to Lydia, give me 1 second. He ain't your friend. Lydia says something pretty powerful there when she says, he gets me. Negan has the ability to connect with people. He connected with Aaron. It was short-lived. Connected with Lydia. But he supports the underdog. And all of this happens, but Daryl still, Daryl has some daughter problems. He doesn't know how. So Daryl is trying to be a father figure to Lydia, but he's never done it to that level where he knows what he's doing. He's learning as he goes. But a couple really, really good scenes with Negan and with Daryl. Negan says she's trying to fit in. Daryl says something pretty profound. Well, that ain't ever going to happen. She hangs out with you now, is it? I mean, Daryl's like throwing it. You guys think a little bit of jealousy on Daryl's part, that Negan is a stronger father figure than Daryl is? What do you guys think? You think that it goes beyond the history of the two? That Daryl does want to be that support for Lydia? And then we see the Silence the Whisperers on the door. And then we're going to fast forward to the lunch scene, you knew they're just planting the seed more and more. The gang, as they are, just gets up and walks away. So, Lydia completely blindsided and attacked. Christmas Girl, Super Chat, says, Aaron witnesses the three bullying her and turns away. Yeah, so that bothered me too. That's a great point, and I didn't mention that earlier. So, there were two moments, Christmas Girl, that I think showed where Aaron's at, where Father G's at. So, when Aaron's training people, and Gage turns around and puts the mask on, Aaron sees that, and he says, hey, you three, back over here. So he could have stepped in and stopped it. Then when they're at lunch, when Lydia sits down and starts doing that, Father G kind of sees it, gets a little bit of a smirk. But they see this bullying going on, and I think it does, I think, touch on a bigger topic. Like, how much bullying could be prevented if people stepped in and stopped it? And of all the people out there that are willing to step in and stop it, it's Negan. So let's go to one of the best scenes of the night. And you guys do me a favor, if you guys like recap spoilers, Play Dead Live, reaction videos, breaking down The Walking Dead all week long, do me a favor. I need everybody in here. Hit that like button. All right. There's my ask. Now let's go forward and get into it. So Lydia's attacked. At first, they basically say, and I don't know the third guy's name, but we do find out the highway woman, her name is Margo. So Lydia's getting attacked. Margo tells her, you know what? We're gonna give you a chance to run away. And they don't. They start hitting her. They throw her down. They kick her. So this is a serious gang fight. So Lydia's on the ground. Nothing she can do against the three of them. Gage comes over. He's thinking about it. He comes up and kicks her. So Negan comes around the corner, throws Margo up against the wall, sets them all straight. And threw Margo so hard against the wall, he killed her. Negan breaks up the fight, protects Lydia, and kills Margo in the process. Now, you could debate whether it was an accident. And I'm going to ask the group here, knowing what you know about Negan, knowing what he said throughout, was it an accident, or did he put a little bit extra into that to prevent it from happening again? Just a little food for thought. He did. So, but did not feel bad about it for very long, as you guys found out. So, we get Siddiq coming out to check on Margo, and we get flashback scene Siddiq. Siddiq is down on a knee, sees all the people around him. Did you guys gather anything about Siddiq's flashback in this episode? Let me see what everybody gathered. Some people are still in the Siddiq might have killed some of our people. Still out there. Was definitely blurry. More screaming in the background. Ecom said he saw Enid in the flashback. I went back, I'm going to have to watch all the faces again. But when he went in and put his face in the water, at first I thought maybe they waterboarded him and put his face in the water. But then the more I thought about it, it's almost as if he paused when his face was there, like he didn't want to take his face out of the water. He was seeing what it would be like if he drowned it himself, if he killed himself. And I think Siddiq is very, very high alert and suicidal. But we're going to watch it multiple times. That will be a topic of conversation throughout the week. We do get a scene with Daryl and Lydia. She talks about missing her dad. I think that's important. It shows the bond that she needs that support. She didn't get it from her mom. Now she's looking for some of it from Daryl, some of it from Negan, and it comes natural for Negan. And then once again, I could probably pick 5 or 6 of these, another very good episode. What did you guys think about the Negan-Daryl jail scene? I'm not going to necessarily say it was the best, but it might have been one of the best 3 scenes from this week's episode. I think that dialogue needed to happen. Was anybody like really on pins and needles to see what they were going to say and what the comeback was going to be, the level of guilt? And the first thing I'm thinking is, when I heard a little bit of it, here's Daryl basically acting like Aaron. Walks in. Negan says, how's the kid doing? She's banged up. Daryl's pretty blunt. People talking about putting you down, that Rick ain't around to save you no more. Maybe should have done it a long time ago. Negan, great comeback here. If you come here looking for a confession, keep walking. It was an accident, but for the record, screw her. She's an asshole beating on a kid. World's better off, but you already knew that anyway, didn't you? So he's already seeing exactly, he's right. And that's exactly what Daryl thinks. Like, she needed to go. She beat up a kid. Daryl wants to, I thought this was certainly a little bit awkward, but did you guys think it was important for Daryl to kind of draw the territory at that point and say, Daryl almost said, look, I'm going to come behind the bars here and we're going to fight it out. Because Daryl's words here were, you listen to me real close. You and I ain't ever been in a room before, not toe to toe. Ain't nobody here to save you now. Negan says, what do you want me to do, Daryl? Negan diffuses the situation. Daryl gets barbaric and says, we can just fight it out right now. Negan totally turns that whole fighting concept on him because he says, look, what do you want me to do? People are out for blood. And Negan says, no, I'm not a sucker. I started believing in your way of life. You gave me a taste of freedom so you could take it away from me after I did the right thing. That might have been one of the strongest statements of the episode is, I'm getting it. I'm understanding it, but you guys ain't ever going to change. The reason that was important is because Lydia said almost the exact same thing to Daryl in a later conversation. Lydia said, my mom was right. You people have your masks. And then when something goes wrong, you zero in on one person, whether it's me or whether it's Negan, you aim and you shoot. Basically, Negan and Lydia are in the exact same situation. That's why they relate with each other. That's what works about this. Which also might set up a Negan getting into the Whispers as an undercover. Because if Lydia understands that way of life and Negan understands Lydia, I think it's an easy sell for Negan. Negan is a charmer. He can convince people. I certainly think he could convince Alpha that he wants that way of life and find a way. I think it'd be a challenge for him to try to get in. They're not just going to accept everybody, but Negan, that storyline is definitely, it's right on the cusp of it. We get more of a Hilltop fight. We also found out, and I don't know if this was ever mentioned before, but once they go through the fight and the walkers broke through, were you guys a little bit surprised? And let me know if you'd heard it before, that Yumi was Magna's lawyer. You're not my lawyer anymore. And maybe I missed some of the backstory. But I thought that was just an interesting storyline. So we know that Yumi was a lawyer. Michonne was a lawyer. A couple lawyers in the house. And call me crazy because I just, I just melt with this stuff. But I thought the Negan and Daryl scene was good. But I do have to say, the choreographed scene with Michonne and Judith fighting walkers, to me, was my absolute favorite. That was my favorite part of the entire episode. How many people had that as number one? You know what? Maybe I'm just a little too sentimental, but every time I see Judith looking like the next Rick Grimes, I'm like, they do such a good job with her. And then we go full circle with the Father G did a good job on the trial where they're questioning Gage. Gage says the girl's a psycho. Father G, great comeback. If you thought she was crazy, why did you agree to meet her back there in the dark? And then Gage is no answer for that one. So I thought that was a great line by Father G. And then what many of you had predicted. Okay, let me talk about this theory a little bit because it's only half true. There were some people that said Dante might have been a plant so Alpha could keep an eye on Lydia. Now, it's not Dante, but we found out when Daryl was talking to Michonne, this was like the big eye-opener. And I think some of us felt this way, but it was just kind of reassuring to hear Michonne say it. When Alpha was up there, she could have killed us all. She left you alive, Daryl, to watch over Lydia. Wow. When I saw that part, I was like, whoa. Now Michonne knows she's getting into the head of Alpha. That Alpha does have that weakness for Lydia. And as long as Lydia's protected, as long as Lydia's alive, it is a bargaining chip if Alpha's always going to have that mother to mother. Very, very deep-rooted storyline there. And it is the truth. So now, it does make things a little complicated later on, right? So Daryl and Michonne have this conversation about keeping Lydia alive. Lydia's no sucker. How is Lydia going to feel later on if she gets wind that Daryl and Michonne are protecting her just to keep Alpha? She's going to feel pointless. She's going to feel worthless. Like, you don't care about me. I'm just a person to save all of your people. Now, that might not be the entire truth, but you know that people are going to feel that way. And I think that's a storyline that we have to look for before the end of the season. That's going to be a division between Daryl and Lydia. That might be the type of thing to make Lydia ultimately leave. Right now, she's in a jail cell. She feels safe in the jail cell. If she feels like nobody's there for her, she's out. And she did start telling Daryl, like, my mom was right. So she is starting to reference that, having a little bit. And if there's anybody that could have PTSD flashbacks, Lydia could. And like Movie Star said, no self-esteem, no self-worth. And she feels like the only place she's welcome is back in that group that she tried to fit in. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. So, like I said, I've got 11 and a half pages worth of stuff here. Daryl does get the vote, and I was extremely disappointed. Siddiq speaks up for Negan and says, the Whispers are our enemy. Aaron is not taking Negan's side. So I think when I saw that council vote, and Father G needs some time to walk away. So you got Daryl and you got Siddiq, who are basically supporting Negan. And he says, I don't give a shit about him, but the girl is telling the truth. Vote was tied. Aaron could have spoken up at that point and told everybody what he saw, what he witnessed. And even led in, he's talking about, some people think that he's redeemed and, there's always something broken in him. So for me, by that, Aaron not only went against the group, he not only went against himself, but he also went against what Rick wanted for the group. Aaron's starting to have his own agenda. He's changing. Now, maybe he needed change a little bit, but I'm a little scared with the direction that Aaron's going. And then there are a couple things I want to bring up just in general. Ezekiel talks to Jerry. Zeke looks kind of back to normal. But Luke had a very comical scene with Yumiko where, hey, I'd like to go back and see Oceanside. And Yumi says, by Oceanside, you mean Jules? Huh? Who's that? That was kind of cute. But when Luke said goodbye, how many people here felt it is a permanent goodbye? A lot of eye contact, not just moving, not just hanging out for a season or so. I felt like Luke is on the way out. Christmas Girl in the cell. Lydia will be able to listen. Well, Negan did. Good point. If she makes it. And I think Lydia's going to make it. But I'm still not sure that Gamma's not going to. There were a couple really interesting things that I thought where somebody could come into Alexandria, maybe Gamma. Gamma's got some darkness to her, so I'm still open for a Lydia-Gamma standoff and a lot of guilt and a lot of regret with that situation. At the very end, what did you guys think about the music, the song, and then we zoom in on this little small shed that says silence the whispers, but there was something a little bizarre about that when I zoomed in. There's smoke coming out of a little smokestack there. So I don't know what that means, and I'm sure it does have some deeper meaning because, it just kind of pans the camera in there. You can see silence the whispers in purple. There's a person standing beside. Almost looks like you could climb up on the roof and then, climb over the wall. It's very easy to get to, but there was just a little bit of smoke coming out of there. So it did have something a little bit strange. So Luke going to Oceanside, I think the Oceanside is going to have some issues. Sabina, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Love for you guys to show up. Appreciate you guys showing up and hanging out with us. We're going to wind this down in a couple minutes because it is a spoiler stream. But I also want to talk about a couple things from episode 5, and we will touch on that as well. So next week, if you guys saw the sneak peek from episode 5, Negan is free. Negan is out there by the river. Brandon Rose does track him down, and he is just, oh my God, I caught up to you. You can see he just loves him to death. Kelly goes out and starts tracking something, and Kelly is in a little bit of trouble, and Daryl and Connie go to search. So I said this before, I still think Kelly is going to be the first Pike victim. We also hear Alpha say, the border will crush them. Now, you could look into that in two different ways. Does that mean the border is shrinking and, like the walls, like a trash compactor, and it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller until you're crushed inside? Or do you think it means when they see the new border that has been marked, it will crush them? I think the second. It's not just about land, it's going to be about that next. Alpha's taking the land, so she has a reason to mark another border. And I think Kelly is going to be the first one that is officially going to go. Ecom says, I think Luke ain't coming back from Oceanside. So I do think in Alpha's bigger picture that there are going to be more heads on pikes, but she's going to pick them from each community. And I think it was very, very ominous that Michonne said something to Ezekiel that is going to be a problem. When Michonne said to Ezekiel, do not come back out here by yourself, I think Ezekiel has his mojo, he's got his reason, he's got his purpose. And I did say this a couple weeks ago, you guys wrote it down, that Ezekiel would die trying to vindicate Henry. And he was in a dark place. Michonne, pun fully intended, is a double-edged sword. Michonne gave him the strength he needed to fight, but the strength she gave him to fight is probably going to be the thing that gets him in an awkward situation and gets him on the pike. So very, very difficult when we see that play out. So I think Ezekiel's going to go it alone. He's going to tell everybody he's okay, doesn't want anybody to worry about it. But here's the thing. If Ezekiel would have jumped off that bridge, he would be dead and Alpha would win. So his life has no bigger purpose. And if Michonne taught him that look, if you're going to go out and make it easier for everybody else, now, in essence, he has nothing to lose because he lost everything when he was standing up on that bridge ready to jump. So now it's all house money. If Ezekiel takes out a few whispers, he's made the point. But the emotional disturbance is going to be bigger when people actually see which heads are on those pikes. So that is today's Saturday spoiler special, everybody. We're about 41 minutes in. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. A lot of people here. You guys love the show. Do me a favor. Like I said, give this video a thumbs up if you like talking about The Walking Dead, if you like hanging out with us. We're going to be doing double shots all week. So tonight at 7 o'clock, we're going to do our first standalone episode of Play Dead Live. Usually we have a Walking Dead topic or Freestyle Friday, but tonight is going to be just about you guys. We're going to run it, see what the decision making is. So if you guys don't know what that is, join in live. It is a role-playing game, real time, where you are actually involved in it. Last night we did a little bit of pre-ZA. Tonight it's going to be back in the fray. It's going to be back in the fight. It's going to be back in the decision-making phase. And then tomorrow night we're going to do our reaction video after The Walking Dead. Monday streams at 7:30, 9:30. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the same. So subscribe, like us, hang out with us. And most of all, get your opinions included in this because some of the best theories, some of the best predictions come when all of us are kind of putting our heads together, coming up with some of those good ideas. You guys saw with the, some theories that are in play right now with Ezekiel being a traitor with Siddiq being a traitor or Siddiq leading him out there doing what he thought he had to do. That's a theory that's still in play. Will Kelly die because she's losing her hearing? That's a theory we put together, still in play. Will Ezekiel go solo and try to take vengeance for Henry? That's still in play. So a lot of the predictions are still, they're still working. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Enjoy your Saturday. Special shout out to the Patreon Army. You guys can see some brand new Patreon supporters of this channel. If you guys want to be a Patreon, you want a little bit more info, some behind the scenes stuff, there's a link down below. PDL sponsors are high tier patrons. They make all of our Play Dead Live possible with their contributions. The Green Team, you guys can see the Green Team, custom emojis. They have badges for longevity. Thank you so much to the Green Team. Super chatters, moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kel. Thank you, everybody. And the biggest shout out that I'm going to give is for each and every one of you. You are the 999 Army, and you're the reason why we show up every single day. Thank you to everybody in here. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.